King James III of Scotland was the first monarch suspected of being a Freemason. The first European sovereign to officially support Freemasonry was the Holy Roman Emperor Francis I, founder of the Royal House of Austria, and curiously enough, a Catholic. The monarchs of Holland, Sweden, Geneva, Zurich, Bern, Bavaria, Austria, Russia, and Prussia outright banned it.
One of the main accusations levied against Freemasonry is that it works through Machiavellian means, even when its ends might be altruistic, as if the end justifies the means. But isn't this the trite self-justification used by every power group? In what way is Freemasonry different from any other powerful organization?
Some authors believe that prior to the French Revolution, the Duke of Orleans, himself Grand Orient of France, bought all the wheat that he could get his hands on and either concealed it or sold it beyond the French borders in order to provoke the famine that led to the French Revolution. However, the Jacobins, who at the time were also being accused of being Masons and Illuminati, closed all the lodges 2 years after their rise to power. Perhaps they did so because they were worried about the great power the Brotherhood seemed to have. And at the time, French Freemasonry boasted around 630 lodges, with some 75,000 followers.
Nor did it help their public image when by the end of the 18th century, the detested Order of the Illuminati of Bavaria had infiltrated most of their lodges. Since then, Freemasonry has been suspected of conspiring to seize world power.
The Order of the Illuminati was created by a Bavarian citizen, Adam Weishaupt, in 1776. Highly opinionated and a true megalomaniac, Weishaupt aspired to dissolve all forms of government, ban religions, abolish private property, and create a new world order under his unified command. He effected infiltration tactics in Freemasonry, and so managed to spread his organization across almost all of Europe, and some even believe North America too. To stop the infection, many monarchs decided to proscribe Freemasonry altogether. The Order of the Illuminati was officially banned in 1790, but its participation in subsequent events is highly likely, and many believe it is still operative today.
In spite of the Illuminati episode, Freemasonry gained prestige and continued to expand its membership. Important historical figures would soon join its ranks.
Learned men, nobles, bourgeoisie, the military. Freemasonry has gained prestige and attracted free thinkers who lurked in the shadows. Their meetings were organized by means of hidden signs. The identity of the masters was only known to those who had come up through the ranks. The result of their actions left practically no traces in history, but their presence was definitely real. Its influence was strongly felt in the Americas, infiltrating the highest circles of civilian and military power. Freemasons played crucial roles in the liberation of both the British and Spanish-American colonies. The USA is perhaps Freemasonry's most outstanding legacy. Its national symbols are loaded with Masonic messages.
A partial list of the most famous Freemasons in history will help us perceive the true importance of this secret society and how it has influenced history.
The banker, Nathan Mayer Rothschild, the musician Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and the German poet Goethe were all Freemasons. Britain was particularly prolific in producing famous Freemasons. English kings George V, William IV, Edward VII and VIII, and George VI. Also English politicians George Canning, Cecil Rhodes, and Winston Churchill. The inventor of penicillin, Sir Alexander Fleming. Writers, Alexander Pope, Edward Gibbon, Sir Walter Scott, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Rudyard Kipling, plus dozens of the generals, admirals, and air marshals. Even actor Peter Sellers was a Freemason. The United States does not lag behind. Most of their founding fathers, judges, congressmen, senators, and generals were Freemasons. Also American presidents Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Lyndon B. Johnson, and Gerald Ford. The director of the American nuclear program, Vannevar Bush, the director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, Henry Ford, and also Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple Computers, all were Freemasons. In South America, figures like Simon Bolivar, San Martin, and Benito Juarez were also Freemasons. And the list just goes on and on.
The importance and popularity that Freemasonry acquired earned it more bloodthirsty enemies than the Catholic Church. Paradoxically, the bloodiest and most effective persecution launched against Freemasonry came from another excommunicated group, the Bolsheviks.
Freemasonry actually survived the first stages of the Russian Revolution and was tolerated until 1922, when the Fourth International decreed that it was an ideology incompatible with communism. At that point, some lodges were disbanded and others went underground. In 1926, a strange request from Mason Boris Astromov to Joseph Stalin to allow Masonry to operate under official sanction resulted in the arrest, torture, and imprisonment of known Masons. Freemasonry disappeared totally during the remaining years of Soviet rule. Astromov himself was detained, interrogated, and died soon after his release. Freemasonry disappeared, or survived in the shadows. The first Russian lodge to operate freely again was the Harmony Lodge. And that did not happen until as recently as 1992.
In the 20th century, Freemasonry would suffer not only the persecution from the Bolsheviks, but also from the Nazis. It was in this century that the term Jewish Masonic was coined, and the most daring conspiracy theories saw the light. How much truth there is in all this? How much is straightforward anti-Semitism? Why has Freemasonry attracted throughout the ages the wrath of established powers like a lightning rod?
The 20th century was not kind to Freemasonry. During the communist era, it was banned in all of Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union. Its lodges dissolved, its libraries destroyed, its members pursued and imprisoned. It fared no better in Nazi Germany.
In Mein Kampf, Hitler proclaimed that Freemasonry had been infiltrated by the Jews, and that it was now their instrument. He wrote that the pacifist feelings and the paralysis of the nationalist instinct were the result of Masonic manipulations. He gave early impetus to what would soon become a long list of anti-Semitic accusations against Freemasonry. Hitler dissolved all the lodges in Germany and accused Freemasonry of conspiring with the Jews to establish a world republic, similar to what the Illuminati had postulated more than 100 years before. In 1935, Goebbels accused 300 members of the Jewish race and Masonic conspirators of having allowed the USSR to enter the League of Nations. 2 years later, he opened an anti-Masonic exhibition that displayed incriminatory objects. In the Nazi concentration camps, Freemasons had to wear a distinctive red inverted triangle. It is estimated that in Nazi Germany and its occupied territories, between 80 and 200,000 Freemasons were murdered. In 1924, in Italy, Mussolini decreed that fascists had to choose between being fascists or Freemasons, and the following year he ordered the dissolution of Freemasonry.
The supposed relationship between Judaism and Freemasonry that both Nazis and fascists decried was never proven, but served to stoke racial hatred. The fact remains that Freemasonry was born in the very heart of Christian societies, and only after a number of centuries had passed that it'd accept Jews as well as Muslims or anyone who believed in a superior being. A detail that went unnoticed or was simply ignored by both Hitler and Mussolini.
Franco's Spain was also an important setting for anti-Masonic persecutions. During the dictatorship of Francisco Franco, Freemasons were tortured and executed without trial all over the country. Freemasonry only became legal again after the death of the dictator in 1975. In more recent times, Saddam Hussein introduced the death penalty in Iraq for those who promote or support Zionist principles, including Freemasonry.
What does this tell us about Freemasonry? Judging on the quality of its enemies, there's not much to add. But what about Freemasonry today?
At present, it is estimated there are still between 4 and 6 million active Masons distributed among some 100,000 lodges worldwide. Most lodges are now a sort of social club, where charity, ancestral rites, secrets, curious clothes, and even bingo competitions and theme parties coexist. Masons no longer hide their membership to the Brotherhood, and even boast bumper stickers that clearly identify them. Most even have their own web pages. They also donate huge amounts of money to charity. The main problem today is that the young have little or no interest in joining their ranks. Perhaps Freemasonry is being defeated by time. Its ancient liturgy, its moral principles, its opposition to religious authorities, who've become less and less important as time goes by, sits uneasily in a culture attuned to postmodernism and the internet, virtual games, individualistic cults, or the insatiable consumer society, where the advancement of a man and spirituality have little place. Perhaps their waning also has to do with their reluctance to accept women outside ancillary lodges for ladies. A stubborn archaism that still persists.
Perhaps the last and greatest Masonic accomplishment of the 20th century has been the routing of Hitler and Nazism. Roosevelt, Truman, Churchill, King George VI, General Bradley, MacArthur and Marshall, all of them were Masons. Many years have passed since then. However, there are still some events that can be ascribed to Freemasonry, flickers of life that tell us that the giant may only be sleeping.
In 1997, British Labour MP Chris Mullin launched a bitter attack on Freemasonry. Mullin was convinced that police Freemasons bestowed special privileges on criminal Freemasons. There was a lot of hysteria in the British press, but in the end nothing was ever proven. In the National Assembly of Wales, it has been obligatory since 1999 for parliamentary Freemasons to reveal their status. Judges and the police have been asked to do so voluntarily.
So if Freemasonry today is just a tawdry social club, why did Saddam Hussein persecute them? While in the United Kingdom they forced Freemason policemen and judges to reveal themselves as Masons. Two countries ideologically at loggerheads who've recently waged war once shared a common enemy. Is it simply because Freemasons are an easy target for politicians?
Freemasonry has always been characterized by its shape-shifting abilities, for having a low profile, and for going underground at the right time. This strategy has reaped them splendid rewards for centuries. New names, new ways, new members. It wouldn't be at all impossible that they could be applying those same tactics today.
Can a society that has influenced the most important events and attracted key historical figures simply fade out of existence? Is it possible that this new silence, this apparent senility, is simply concealing a change of plans and strategies? Our daily life is often affected by decisions that are unknown to us, and Freemasons might still be behind them, without us even suspecting it. Not to mention the powerful manipulation exercised by the media, much of which is in the hands of Masonic brethren. Is it not right to wonder through which channels Freemasonry's subtle messages reach us?